Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today we have the last video in the Star Collecting series, a little bit delayed, I'm sorry, life has gotten in the way, but we are looking at the last Christmas box for this year and how it can help you start a brand new Ogor Mawtribes army, and that is of course using the box, the Meatgrinder Warglutt box, which you can see pictured here on the screen. So let's talk a little bit about what is inside the box itself. And so the contents of it, you get an Ogre Tyrant. Ogre Tyrants are a great leader option for Ogor Mawtribes, especially if you are going the more Gutbuster heavy, Gutbusters being the foot troop ogres, which are abundant in this box set. He has a really cool command ability where he can cause some mortal wounds on a unit and make them completely immune to battle shock for the rest of the game. It's really great when combined with some large units of ogres, potentially just doing a few wounds to make sure you're never having ogres run away. Also, little sneaky trick, it also works on Noblars, so you can have immune to battle shock big blobs of tiny little grots or Noblars running around the battlefield, meaning your opponent has to go and wipe them all out. Next up, you also get 12 Ogre Gluttons in this box, and Ogre Gluttons are your staple battle line choice if you're choosing to go, I guess, the Gutbuster route, although they are pretty much the only Ogre Mawtribes unit that is pure battle line. You're having to unlock all the other stuff through various different ways. Gluttons are pretty cool. They've got two main weapon loadouts, that being the two hand weapons, which is probably the more preferred way to run them. This gives them some rerolls, and they've also got the Iron Fist option, which you can see on the back units, which have those cool sort of like punch dagger looking things on their left hands. These do some mortal wounds when you make some save rolls back, but realistically it's all about the offense for the ogres for me, and I do feel dual weapons are just the only way to go for ogres. Looking up the back in the middle there, we've got another unit which is for Iron Guts. They are your elite ogre troops. These are the Tyrant's Gut Guard. They are his personal bodyguards, and they have these giant man hacker weapons that do damage 3. Yes, you heard that right, damage 3. While they have the potential to be a bit swingy, when Iron Guts hit, they can be absolutely devastating. I've seen them take off so many things on the table. I have some really good ogre players in my local community, like especially Mr. Doom and Darkness himself. If you don't know who Doom and Darkness is, what are you doing with Age of Sigmar? Go check out Doom and Darkness, especially if you're interested in ogres. But for me, I play quite a few different ogre players, not just Doom. I've got a good friend of mine that also plays ogres, and just seeing Iron Guts, knowing that like even a lone Iron Gut champion sitting by himself is more than enough to, if he rolls well, take out pretty much anything in my army. They can be utterly devastating and just a real threat on the table. Next to them, we've got the ogres holding the ship cannons, and yeah, they're actually holding ship cannons. These are called lead belchers. Lead belchers are a pretty cool unit. They have some shots. They do have a bit of range in combat, and there's a bit of a debate in the ogre community as to whether ogre bulls or lead belchers are actually the better unit to be picking as your core battle line. Lead belchers for me, I think, fill a more support role, though there are times when I would see them take place in more than gluttons, in particular different Mawtribe sub-factions within the army, namely the Underguts more than any of them. But the lead belchers have a really cool weapon profile where they do D3 shots each, or if they don't move, they actually get to do D6. So if you can get these guys into position and force your opponent to come in range of them, having to take them on, you can do some serious damage without shooting. Not to mention they are still ogres in combat, so that's always worth noting. Ogres in combat are just always deadly, even the shooty ones. The artillery piece we have up the back is an Iron Blaster, pictured there, although it can also be built as a scrap launcher, which is a Noblar scrap launcher, as its name suggests. It flings scrap and bits and pieces, like spoons and everything, across the battlefield. The scrap launcher is much more made for shooting at hordes, so depending on where your local meta is at and what armies your friends are playing, depends on which one I would strongly suggest building. Iron Blast is a really great option, as it allows you to particularly delve down a path called the Underguts. As I mentioned that sub-faction before with the lead belchers, this is a shooting ogre variation, and Iron Blasters can be quite deadly when you've got a right combination of things in an Underguts army. Scrap launchers are pretty cool, though, especially if you've got lots of people running things like Gloomspike Gits and all that sort of stuff. They can be quite heavily devastating. There should actually be Oh no, it's not against them. I have a battle report where I played called Catapult from Skaven. I know it's a different model, but it has very similar rules to a scrap launcher, and it goes on the battlefield, and it does some serious damage to my larger units. The last model we get in this box is actually an ally for these ogres, but a cool centerpiece nonetheless, and most destruction players like a lot of destruction armies, so it's a good start to a Sons of Behemoth army potentially. And that is an Ale Guzzler Garden. Now, he's called an Ale Guzzler Garden when he's an ally for Ogor Mawtribes, or because it's the unit you're taking from the Gloomspike Gitz battle tome. The other variation, he could also be a Man Crusher, which is a unit you can take in the Sons of Behemoth army. He's a cool model. He has some iffy rules, and he's not particularly the best monster, but a great centerpiece nonetheless, and a really fun model to build. There is a ton of spare bits in that kit you can use to really make this box set your own, which I think is the best thing about having this Ale Guzzler Garden in this box set, is you're going to get all those cool spare bits to be able to convert and really make your own ogre models just stand out from everyone else's. But let's start looking into where we can go to next with all of this. So for me, I'm going to actually suggest something a little bit weird for my first suggestion on where to go to next with this particular force, and that would be picking up the Start Collecting Beastclaw Raiders. Now, the reason I suggest this is mainly because the Start Collecting box is not that much more than an actual single Stonehorn or Thundertusk kit, and it also gives you just a few more options and quite a few more points. What's really great about that Warglutt box that we've just looked at is that it is really heavy on points, and this can pretty much, with a single Start Collecting box, pretty much pop you almost around 2,000 points. A really cheap, effective 2,000 point army that actually will do okay on the table. For me, there's two variations you can build. Obviously, you're probably looking at building a Frostlord for me, really, out of this box set, either on Stonehorn or Thundertusk. There are some cool variations for both. Stonehorn is the more popular and more common option you will see played out. They are really hard-hitting monsters, while Thundertusk is a bit more tanky when you tech him out in certain ways. Mornfang Cavalry are cool. They, once again, can have some cool damage 3 weapons, though they are a bit swingy. And it's just nice having a different unit. They're also a bit faster than your average ogre, which is cool. The next suggestion I'm going to recommend is picking up an Icebrow Hunter, and we'll conclude Frost Sabers in this discussion here. So why I suggest these two units is because they go into a battalion known as a Skull for ogres, and it is one of the best ways for ogres to potentially have some movement shenanigans, or I guess reserve options within the force. You have Gorges as another option, but for me, I think it's the Hunter and the Frost Sabers that really do the work the best. They can come on any board edge. They sort of pop up, and as you would suggest, they're hunting their opponents, so they pop up on the board edge, and they can get some charges in really easy because the Frost Sabers get a whole bunch of benefits. Plus, the ogre that is leading them, the Icebrow Hunter, has a cool shooting weapon, so he can get a couple of shots in as well. It's also worth mentioning that he is still an ogre character, so he will do some damage in combat. He can go in and potentially wipe out some small screens or some little 5-wound heroes as well. Frost Sabers are an interesting one, though. A lot of people don't like the models, and I have seen a lot of people run variations of different stand-in models for them. Fenrisian Wolves from the Space Wolves range in Warhammer 40k is a very popular option to replace them. I've seen some people find some Lions from other kits, and just a whole bunch of different options, even using more Gryph-hounds converted up to be much more savage as well is another option. The last model I'm going to suggest to pick up is Slaughtermaster, and the reason why I picked the Slaughtermaster over the Butcher is because of the cauldron that's tied behind him. This has the ability to give some random effects, either some damage dealt, heal some wounds around to ogres near him, but the number one thing you like rolling on that random table is the +1 to hit. This can really make your ogres do that little bit more damage and really push them into that much more powerful damage range. He's a cool spellcaster as well. Ogre spellcasters have some really cool spells. They're not particularly the most potent or powerful spellcasters in Warhammer Age of Sigmar, but they're going to do a job. And if you're playing in a meta or your local game scene doesn't have a lot of big spellcasters like Nagash or Teclis, their magic becomes much more viable. But that is the reason I suggest the Slaughtermaster, because you can do more than just magic for your army. Let's go into having a look at an army list I've built up and designed, and we can have a little bit of a chat about that. So I put together a quick little army. Now, this is by no means a competitive or a probably overly strong army. It's going to do a decent amount, and it's going to really show you what ogres are all about. It's going to make you run forward and hit stuff hard and really give you the spirit of how I feel ogres should be playing. So we're going to be using the Meat Fist Mawtribe. The Meat Fist Mawtribe is probably one that's not used quite as much. You either hear people using Blood Gullet or Underguts or potentially Boulderhead as well. But for me, Meat Fist Mawtribe is pretty interesting. You get roll an additional dice when you get to do your Ogre charge with the trampling thing. Your command ability allows you to have some extra bite attacks, and then you've got a couple of cool artifacts as well, which just all sort of like just give you that bit more Ogre feel. It makes you do more damage. For me, with the starter box that we've got, I think it just sort of fits better because we're not looking at adding a wizard in straight away, so therefore Blood Gullet's not as effective, and obviously we don't have any Beast Lord Raiders, so therefore Winterbite and Boulderhead are not as effective either. So to start off with, as I mentioned, you can see a lot of models from the box that are actually missing. We haven't got the Guzzler Garden and we haven't got the lead Belchers in, and we're actually sitting at 1980 points. So there are a few ways you can toy around with this list and variate it. But the one constant I would definitely keep in it is the 2 units of 6 Ogre Gluttons. Whether you want to have them as 2 units of 6 or maybe 1 unit of 6 and 2 units of 3 is completely up to you. The ability to have more units on the table is good because it allows you to distribute your power across the game and the table more. But let's get looking into the list from the top to start with. And so to start with, we've chosen our Ogre Tyrant. As mentioned, he's got a really cool command ability, so he can use some command points early on to make those Ogre Gluttons there not run away. And what's really cool, at the start of your hero phase, if your general is eating, which means for ogres, if they're in combat, if they're within 3 inches of an enemy unit, you gain an additional command point. So getting that Tyrant up into your opponent's face, getting him fighting gets you some extra command points, which is really cool because that can combine with the Unstoppable Feast, which gives your Ogre Glutton units around him more bite attacks. He's then going to have the Gut Plate of Gur. Now, these are artifacts he has to take because he's chosen to be from the Meat Fist Mawtribe. And the Gut Plate of Gur gives him reroll save rolls of 1 for attacks that target the bearer. Decent enough. He's got a 4-up armor save, if I'm remembering correctly. I might be wrong. It might be a 3-up, but I'm pretty sure it's a 4-up. But he gets to reroll 1s as well. That's pretty cool. It's an automatic Mystic Shield, which is just nice always to have. For battle line, obviously, we've got the 2 units of 6 Ogre Gluttons, and as mentioned before, you can sort of choose whether you want to have 2 units of 6, 4 units of 3, 1 unit of 6, 2 units of 3. It's really up to you on how you like to play it. For me, I do think 2 units of 6 is probably not the best way to go. Maybe a unit of 6 and 2 units of 3 might be better in distributing your power across the table. There's not much that's going to stand in the way of 3 Ogre Gluttons if they really want to get into it in 1,000 points, obviously, unless your opponent's really sunk some points into a unit. For me, dual hand weapons all the way, though. They're definitely the best weapon option you can choose for Ogre Gluttons in my point of view. The other battle line option, which only become battle line because we've got the Ogre Tyrant as the general, is the 4 Iron Guts. Like the Iron Guts, as mentioned, they've just got damage to your weapons. They're just a massive threat in 1,000-point games. These models will absolutely rip up most things they touch. There's not much at 1,000 points that's going to be able to stop them or that's going to be coming out unharmed from them. If your opponent's taking something and can deal with 4 Iron Guts at 1,000 points, he's investing a significant amount of points in something to do that. And the last thing, we've put the Iron Blaster in. Now, as mentioned, you could probably put 2 Lead Belchers in, but you'd be left with quite a lot of points, although that would allow you to start with a command point, I believe. Yeah, that would allow you to start with a command point in the army, which is cool, because that means you could probably make both those Ogre Glutton units, if you've chosen to go 2 6-man units, immune to Battle Shock in the first battle round. But that's the list, and I'd like to know your thoughts. What do you think of this box? Have you picked it up? I'm sorry, this one's a little bit late. Life has gotten in the way, but it's here now. Well, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Hope you enjoyed the video, and also, if you'd like to, you can come chat with me and other members of our community in the Discord server, which will be linked down in the description below of this video. And lastly, a shout out to everyone who supports the channel via Patreon. A special shout out to all our Sinful Guard Militia members, Christian Weir, Philip Ward, Soren, Kenny Lowe, and the Sinful Free Good Regiment members, James and AJC. Thank you all so much for your support. And if you'd like to help support the channel like these fine gentlemen do, you can do so by following the link to our Patreon down in the Discord below, or potentially joining our YouTube. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, everyone, keep fighting that war against Grey. Ciao for now.